The great pirate who became poor because of greed. Imagine a pirate so powerful that kings feared him and the oceans bowed to his command. But what if I told you, his greatest victory became his greatest curse? One island promised him endless treasure, yet it took away everything, his ship, his crew, even his very soul. How can a man who owned the seas end up poorer than the beggars on the streets? Stay with me till the end of this story, because the fate of Bartholomew Kane will shock you, and leave you questioning how far you would go for gold. Now, let us begin. The sea was calm that night. Waves whispered against the blackened wood of a ship that once ruled the oceans. Its sails hung torn, its flag in tatters, but its captain still stood tall. His name was Bartholomew Kane. A pirate feared by kings, cursed by sailors, and admired by thieves. His eyes glowed with the hunger of gold. Every storm he sailed, every battle he fought, was for treasure. Chests of silver. Mountains of jewels. Coins stacked so high they clattered like thunder when poured. But greed is a silent poison. And Kane wanted more. He wanted treasure that no other pirate dared to claim. One night, under a sky filled with blood-red clouds, a whisper reached his ear. It came from a prisoner, chained in the dark hold of his ship. The prisoner spoke of an island where gold burned brighter than the sun. But he warned Kane, "Take only what you need. Take more, and the island takes back." Kane laughed, his voice echoing across the creaking ship. Need was for the weak. He wanted it all. And so, with a voice like steel, he ordered his men to set sail. Days passed. The sea turned violent, almost alive, as if pushing them away. The crew grew restless, their faces pale with fear. But Kane's greed was stronger than their terror. At last, the island appeared. Its shores shimmered as if the sand itself was made of crushed jewels. The air was heavy, thick. Every breath felt like swallowing molten metal. Still, Kane smiled. His boots sank into the glowing sand as he shouted, "Fill the chests. Take it all." The men hesitated, but his glare cut deeper than any sword. Gold was gathered. Jewels piled into crates. The ship groaned under the weight of riches beyond imagination. Yet Kane was not satisfied. He walked deeper into the island. And there, in the heart of a cavern, he found it. A throne made of bones, crowned with endless gold. He touched the throne. And the island trembled. The ground cracked open. The sea roared louder than cannons. The treasure melted like wax, dripping through his fingers into the earth. Kane screamed as the island swallowed the gold. And piece by piece, it swallowed him too. The cavern shook with fury. Walls split apart, sending shards of rock crashing to the ground. His men screamed outside, their voices carried on the violent wind. Kane clung to the throne, gold slipping like water through his grasp. The bones that formed the throne cracked, turning to dust under his hands. He tried to scoop the treasure into his coat, into his boots, into anything he could carry. But the more he grabbed, the faster it vanished. The jewels turned black. The coins crumbled into ash. The cavern stank of burning iron and seawater. Kane's chest pounded, his throat dry, his mind screaming, "This cannot be real." A voice rose from the trembling ground. Low, deep, mocking. "You were warned, pirate." Kane's eyes widened. He spun, but there was no figure, only shadows crawling along the walls. The floor gave way beneath him. He fell, striking the ground hard, his body rattling with pain. When he stumbled back to his feet, the cavern was empty. The gold was gone. The throne was gone. Even his men were gone. He staggered outside, but the ship that once groaned under endless treasure now rocked weightlessly. Its decks were bare. Every chest was empty. The sails flapped like ghosts in the storm. Kane's breath hitched. The weight of silence crushed him harder than any chain. For the first time, the great pirate had nothing. Not gold. Not jewels. Not even a crew. Only the echo of his greed remained, circling him like vultures. And the sea, once his loyal companion, turned its back. The waves carried his broken ship into endless emptiness. Hunger clawed at his stomach. Thirst burned his throat. But worse than hunger, worse than thirst, was the truth. Bartholomew Kane, the most feared pirate of the seas, was now poorer than the beggars he once mocked. Days bled into nights. The ocean stretched endless and merciless around him. No crew to man the sails. No laughter of pirates. Only the creak of wood and the hiss of water. Kane's beard grew wild, his skin burned beneath the unrelenting sun. He searched the horizon for ships, for islands, for hope, but saw nothing. The sea had erased him. One morning, the ship scraped against shallow rocks. Kane stumbled to the deck, eyes sunken and hollow. A coast appeared ahead. Not the shining ports he once conquered, but a small fishing village. Children pointed at the broken ship. Men with nets pulled it ashore. They whispered his name. But not with fear. Not with awe. Only pity. The mighty pirate had returned, not with treasure, not with power, but with empty hands. The villagers gave him water. They gave him bread. And in exchange, he was asked to mend nets, sweep floors, and carry buckets. Work that once he mocked as worthless. His back ached under simple labor. His hands bled, not from sword fights, but from pulling ropes. The taste of gold haunted him. The memory of treasure burned in his mind like a curse. Yet no coin touched his palm again. At night, he sat on the shore. The waves whispered the same words, over and over. You had everything. And you wanted more. The great pirate, once a king of the seas, had become nothing more than a poor man. And his name, Bartholomew Kane, became a tale. A tale told to warn sailors. A tale told to frighten children. A tale of how greed does not only steal gold. It steals your soul. The small boat groaned as it met the waves. Each plank rattled like bones in the wind. Kane's hands, scarred and blistered, pulled the oars through the black water. The sky was heavy with storm clouds, as if the heavens themselves disapproved. But Kane's eyes burned with a single thought: gold. His lips cracked. His throat raw. Yet he whispered again and again, it is still mine. It must be mine. Days stretched into torment. Salt stung his skin. Shadows of sea creatures circled beneath the boat, waiting. At night, he dreamed of the cursed island. In his dreams, the treasure called his name, glittering like fireflies in endless darkness. But when he woke, he was surrounded only by emptiness. And then, one night, he saw it. The island. Its shores glowed faintly under the storm, as if mocking him. The same cursed sand. The same jagged rocks. The same hunger gnawed at his gut. His boat scraped ashore, and Kane staggered into the glowing sand. Every breath felt heavier, just as before. The island pulsed with the same dreadful energy. And deep in the cavern, the throne awaited him once more. But this time, it was not made of gold. It was made of shadows. Shadows that shifted and breathed. And a voice rose again, deep and cold. You return, pirate. With nothing left but your hunger. Kane's knees trembled. His heart pounded. Still, he stepped forward. I will not leave without what is mine, he growled. The cavern rumbled with laughter, dark and endless. And the ground split open at his feet. The crack beneath him widened. Heat surged upward, burning his skin. The shadows stretched, rising like twisted figures from the cavern walls. They circled him, whispering in voices that slithered through his ears. Greed brought you once. Greed brings you again. Kane's hand shook, but his eyes gleamed with the same fever. He stepped forward, closer to the throne of shadows. His boots sank into the ground as if the island itself tried to pull him down. The air grew thick, heavy, impossible to breathe. Still, he reached out. The throne pulsed, alive, waiting. The shadows surged, wrapping around his arms like chains. Kane gasped, but he did not resist. His fingers stretched desperately, clutching at what he believed was gold hidden within the darkness. But when his hand closed, he held nothing, only smoke. It burned his skin, crawling through his veins like fire. His scream echoed across the cavern. The shadows laughed, the sound sharper than knives. You are not here for treasure, the voice growled. You are the treasure. The ground cracked open fully, and the throne of shadows dragged him down. His body twisted, his flesh stretched thin, his voice lost in the roar of the earth. And then, silence. The cavern sealed. The island stood still, glowing faintly under the storm. But deep below, Kane's soul was bound forever. A prisoner. A warning. A whisper carried on the waves. The great pirate who lost everything. Because of greed. And so, the tale of Bartholomew Kane ended not with glory, but with silence. The sea no longer carried his ship. The ports no longer feared his name. His treasure was never seen again. Only whispers remained. Whispers told by fishermen at night. Whispers carried by the tide to every shore. They say if you listen closely to the waves, you can hear his voice. A voice begging. A voice warning. A voice forever trapped beneath the island. The great pirate who could have ruled the seas, but chose to be ruled by greed. His story lives on, not as a legend of power, but as a warning of what happens when desire has no end. Remember this. Gold may shine bright, but greed will always burn brighter, and it will consume everything in its path.